Hi everybody, and welcome to segment 3 of GSX Monitor and Analyzer for your Exchange 2010 environment. I keep trying to make these short, so I apologize I'm going fast. We're going to continue today's theme from last time, segment 2, that talked a lot about metrics, statistics, and how they can help you manage your environment for higher availability, a better user experience, troubleshooting, being proactive, and we're going to continue that theme and talk about more fixed reporting in some ways as well today. Let's move into the system. Okay, so if you have not seen segments 1 and 2, you might want to go back and look at those because we're going to kind of assume you have knowledge of all of the things we're going to talk about. But just for a very quick recap, GSX Monitor is looking at your Exchange 2010 environment. We're looking at your mailbox servers, and we're grouping them into DAGs, and we're looking at those entities specifically differently. In other words, a mailbox server being down does not mean your DAG is down. You don't have to run around with your hair on fire because you might have 5 members of that DAG and you've got 4 other mailbox copies and the users are being delivered their mailboxes. Everything's great and there are no problems. It's just that your safety net's been degraded. So the DAG being down and a mailbox server being down and a CAS server being down, but the CAS array being still available, they're all very different things, and we want to track that very differently and alert you and notify you and measure that in our metrics in a different way. Again, remember, we talked about statistics and the near-term statistics that we had. We talked about some of the graphs we had available last time where we actually looked at Outlook web app connectivity latency over time, but you can also look at things like server performance and server utilization, resource utilization. We talked about the scenarios where we did repetitive mail routing scenarios between different servers, out to the internet, out to BlackBerry devices, etc. We can do a similar concept with SharePoint for different types of transactions there. And with that, we're going to jump over into the more formal reporting side of GSX. Okay, now we're looking at GSX Analyzer. And GSX Analyzer is the executive dashboard that's part of the suite of GSX Monitor and GSX Analyzer. They're sold separately. You don't have to do them both, but if indeed you do them both, GSX Analyzer gets all its data seamlessly and as a byproduct of the normal monitoring that GSX Monitor is doing, collecting, alerting on, grabbing data and giving you an understanding of what's happening on your servers. All that feeds into Analyzer. GSX Analyzer is a profile-driven tool, so I'm logged in as a super admin, so I see all of my platforms, but you might not have that area of responsibility, and we can actually structure profiles that different people see different subsets of this data as is needed for them to perform their functions, and the rest of it's gone and it's not a distraction. So in this case I'm looking at BlackBerry and I don't want to look at BlackBerry, I want to look at Exchange. So if I click on Exchange, I repaint the palette, I get different key performance indicators up here. You get to choose from a list of which KPIs you like. I get a pie chart of availability for the day or the week or the month, depending on what I've clicked on. And then I've got 15 most recent periods, happens to be 15 days, but again, if you wanted it to be 15 months, you can click on month. And then for all my Exchange servers, I see all of these statistics for the day, week, or month for all these different servers, and I can drill down from there if I want to. Now, what's on the rest of these tabs? Alerts would allow me to look at alerts that have been issued by GSX Monitor over time and to mine that data. So let me give you an example, and I know I don't happen to have any alerts here because this is demo data, but let's say I have a chronological list of hundreds of alerts here. I can look for different types of alerts, I can look at alerts in a different time period, or I can even use the filter viewer where I want to look at all the alerts on resource ABC71B, and it's going to only show me the alerts of a certain type in a certain date range that have occurred on that resource, so I can look for patterns. Statistics allows me to look at, let's just paint a new page here, all the statistics that I have for all my Exchange servers. Okay, it's on BlackBerry, I want to look at Exchange. It's as simple as this. I can now see all my Exchange servers and all the statistics for the day that I'm looking at. It doesn't have to be the most recent day, it can be any time period I want. If I want to look at a month from 4 months ago, I can do that, okay? And let's say I don't want to look at all the servers, I want to filter this just to look at mailbox servers, okay? Now I'm only looking at my 3 mailbox servers, and I can see all these stats, or I can say I want to drill down and look at just this server. And on this server, I can see disk space, I can see availability calculations, I can see mail measurements, I can see server load, and I can see user connections all in one place very, very easily. So if I'm trying to do some troubleshooting, I can correlate a lot of these statistics. I can look at how many mailboxes per server there are and the size of these mailboxes. You know, it happens a lot where you designed your Exchange 2010 environment months and months and months ago, and it was supposed to be a certain way, and it actually evolved and is behaving differently now, and you might not be aware of it, like, wow, how come the average mailbox size is so much different than what I originally architected? And you can find this data very, very easily. Reports, just for speed's sake, I'll move on through a few of these. Reports would give me log reports for, let's say, your BlackBerry server, something of that nature. Trends, where it starts to get really interesting, where I can look at statistics over the selected time period and graph them simultaneously. So in this example, I want to look at network uptime and CPU usage for some strange reason simultaneously. So I'm looking for correlations. What I'm actually seeing here, and this happens to only be over days, is the number of data points that I actually have over months, weeks, or days, and then forecasting out into the future. You probably wouldn't forecast 10 days off of a few days worth of history, but you kind of get the idea. I can create a new trend right here, but I'm going to actually go create a new trend here. Would put it in this palette that I could use over and over again. But I'm going to go up into Tools and create a trend that I'm going to use over and over again in another way. So let's create a new trend. And I can either take an empty configuration, which means I can do anything I want with any of the stats we have. I can pick from one of our templates, which kind of group things to give you a start point, or using the existing configuration radio button would allow me to take an existing report and modify it. So in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and create a new one. And it's actually building my entire data dictionary remotely off of my server in Europe right now. So it's going to take a couple seconds. But what it's going to allow me to do is select the statistics, select the time scale, select how we deliver this, what it looks like, and then if I want to do a forecast. So I'm dancing here while it builds, and here we go. So now I can pick whatever types of statistics I want. And we're here to talk about Exchange, so let's say I want to look at Exchange statistics. And then I've got them broken down by category. So let's say I want to look at Exchange server load. Do I want all the stats? No, I only want, this one, and these other three. Okay, because this is going to be a structured report, and again, I can do this on the fly right in the Trends tab of Analyzer, but in this case, I'm creating a report that I'm going to deliver to other people that don't have Analyzer access. So I can say I want to graph all of these statistics, or only some of them. So the ones I picked are all going to not only be numerically in the report, but be graphed as well. Okay, and then let's say I want to pick that I want to do this, I only want to do this monthly. And I want to do this for 18 months, let's say. 18 months. And then I can pick some other things in the advanced mode here where I say I want it to start at the beginning of the month, etc. I don't want to keep, you get tons and tons of flexibility to do that. And then I want to name this report, Steve's favorite report, or whatever I want it to be. The enable human readable means it takes your unit of measure and makes it something more logical. So if we have a stat that's in kilobytes and, in your environment, terabytes might be the best unit of measure for people to read. We can shrink that down to something that fits in a column and is more easy for people to read. So now I've got an 18-month report, and I decided that I want to send this to certain people in a certain way. So do I want it to be a PDF file, or do I want it to be up on our FTP site? And I can determine all this kind of information and determine who it gets delivered to. If I want to say that I want this PDF to look a certain way, I can drop a logo in, I can put in some text. I'm going to show you an example. It's probably the easiest way to do this. And then just the final thing is I want to enable a forecast. So I want to forecast out 7 months from my 18 months. If I were to do that, which I'm not going to bother, I would get a report that looks something like this, but again, it's going to be in a fixed format file. And let me get you one so I can show that. Okay, so here's a sample of a fixed report that was delivered as a PDF, and we've put a logo in, we've put in a title, we've put in some leading text, we've put in okay, here, exciting little statements, whatever you want it to be, and then here we have numerical and graphical representation of some of our statistics, and I can drop in some more text if I want. I think you're getting the point here that we can give you a lot of data. I guess I picked a really big report, so let's just slide down to the end of the darn thing, and I don't have any following text, but I could put, there it is. Okay, so in this example, I'm creating a report and delivering it to my end user body as I want to. Okay, so let's jump back in and we'll give you the final tab here, and then we're going to adjourn. The environmental health reports and environmental health profiles allow me to create reports or visual dashboards, if you will, and I can do this two ways, that give me something where I compare all my servers simultaneously in a very, very easy way. So in this case, I happen to, okay, let's use BlackBerry, we'll use this one. The almond colored bars are my SLA, and I can pick what statistic I want to be the measure of my SLA. The green bar sections are the various KPIs that we've chosen that make up that. So I can have 2 of them as I have here, or 5 of them, and I can look at all my servers simultaneously. The red line is my contract value, the purple line is my average, and you can see very easily these are not the servers I should be worrying about. These other ones here that are either down or suffering are where I need to look. And the way this gets set up is up here in Tools again, Environment Health Reports, and let's say Exchange Availability. I can pick from the stats that are available to me, Exchange Availability, that which one of these is going to be the SLA. So in this case, Exchange Server Uptime in a 24-hour period count is the SLA. I can also pick which ones are my KPIs if I want, and then even determine when the graph goes from green to red to yellow, or green to yellow to red rather, what is my contract value. It's a really great palette. You have complete flexibility, and it is all fed automatically from GSX Monitor without you doing any extra work. Everybody, this has been a series of 1, 2, and 3, but it's certainly not meant to be the entire story. I'd invite you to schedule a one-on-one presentation with one of our team worldwide, and thanks so much for watching the video.